It starts with a sound, the silence of the pipes. It's not panic yet, it's just quiet. You turn the handle, and you expect that rush of life, the pressure, the clarity, but instead, there's a cough, a sputter, and then, nothing. We've been trained to believe that water is a problem of depth, that to get it, you have to fight the earth. You have to drill deep, thousands of feet down, spending tens of thousands of dollars, gambling on the hope that somewhere in the dark, cracked bedrock, there is a vein of water worth finding. But what if I told you that the biggest lie in off-grid living isn't about money, or politics, or even scarcity? What if I told you that for most people, the water they need isn't hidden deep beneath them? It's hiding right here, in plain sight, waiting for you to stop drilling and start listening. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you how to build a water system that costs less than a dinner for two, requires zero electricity, and provides water cleaner than what comes out of most city taps. And nobody, I mean nobody, is talking about it. If you're interested in off-grid living or self-sufficiency, you've seen the grid, the gear grid. YouTube is full of it. Massive solar arrays powering massive pumps, 1,000-gallon plastic cisterns blotting the landscape. Enough valves, filters, and pipes to make a nuclear engineer blush. We've turned water collection into an engineering project. But there is a hidden system. A method so old, so fundamental, that modern industry has effectively erased it from our memory because it's too simple to monetize. I call it the Shallow Interceptor. It's not a well. It's not a rain barrel. It is a passive, biological sponge that sits just a few feet beneath your feet, harvesting a resource that 99% of preppers and homesteaders walk over and completely ignore. By the end of this video, you will have the blueprint. You will understand the physics, the history, and the why. And more importantly, you'll realize that the solution to your water anxiety isn't about going deeper. It's about staying shallow. Let's look at the reality. The water table is dropping. Globally, we are mining the Earth's water reserves faster than they can recharge. If you live in a rural area, you know the tension. You drill a well, you hit water. 10 years later, your neighbor drills deeper, and suddenly, your pump is sucking air. And the cost? It's predatory. A drilled well is a hole in the ground filled with money. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And what do you own? A straw. A straw that depends on the grid to power the pump that sucks the water up. If the power goes out, you have a $30,000 hole. Even city water isn't safe. Aging infrastructure, pharmaceuticals, microplastics. We are buying filters to fix problems we shouldn't have. We are obsessed with purification because we've given up on source quality. We feel helpless. We feel that water is something that must be extracted, processed, and paid for. But that feeling, that helplessness, it comes from a misunderstanding of the hydrologic cycle. Conventional wisdom says, water goes down. We drill to chase it. But here is the contrarian truth. The truth that changes everything. Most of the water that falls on your property never leaves the surface, and it never goes deep. It gets stuck. It gets trapped in the Vadose Zone, the upper layer of the soil. It creates what hydrologists call an aquifer, but it's shallow. It's temporary. It's a lens of water floating on top of a dense clay layer or rock bed, just 2 to 6 feet underground. The water you are chasing 300 feet down? That's the fossil reserve, the emergency fund. The water sitting 5 feet down? That's the daily income. Trees know this. They don't have drills. They have roots. They spread wide, staying shallow, drinking this ephemeral water before it evaporates or sinks. While you are trying to drill a hole to the center of the earth to find a vein of gold, the forest is drinking the silver that rains down every day. The mistake isn't the lack of water. The mistake is the depth of the ambition. Layer 1, the hidden reservoir. Imagine the earth beneath your topsoil as a giant, dirty sponge. When it rains, that sponge soaks up water. Gravity pulls it down until it hits something it can't get through: clay, hardpan, rock. It spreads out there. It sits. It waits. Drill through it, and you lose it. You miss it entirely. The drill bit goes right past the sponge into the empty void below. Layer 2, the purity factor. Deep water is old water. It's been sitting in rocks for thousands of years, dissolving minerals, heavy metals, sometimes radioactive elements. But shallow water? Shallow water is young. It has recently fallen from the sky, and as it trickled through just a few feet of topsoil, something miraculous happened. It got filtered. The top 3 feet of soil is the most advanced filter on the planet. It's alive. It eats bacteria. It traps pathogens. By the time water reaches that shallow lens at 4 feet deep, it is often biologically sterile. Layer 3, the misunderstanding. People see this water all the time. They dig a post hole. They see it fill up with muddy water. They curse the mud. They call it a nuisance. They pour concrete in it to stabilize a post. They don't realize they just struck gold. They just found their water supply, and they buried it in concrete. So, what is the solution? How do we harvest this shallow lens without drilling, without electricity, without breaking the bank? We build a shallow interceptor, sometimes called a curtain drain or a French drain well, but modified for potable water collection. Here is the anatomy of the system. Step 1, the trench. You don't dig a deep hole. You dig a trench. And crucially, you dig it across the slope of your land, not down it. You are intercepting the water as it travels horizontally through the soil. You are building a dam for the underground flow. Length? Ideally 50 to 100 feet. The longer the trench, the more surface area you have to collect the water. Step 2, the conduit. You use standard 4-inch perforated PVC pipe. Here is the trick that separates a muddy puddle from a water system. The holes go down. Most people put the holes up. They let the dirt fall in. Wrong. You place the pipe, holes facing the earth. The water rises up into the pipe from the soil. The silt stays down. Gravity does the filtering for you. Step 3, the skin. You surround the pipe with pea gravel. This creates a permeable skin, a high-speed lane for the water to travel through the soil so it doesn't clog. Then you wrap the gravel and pipe in geotextile fabric. This keeps the fine mud particles out of your gravel vein. Step 4, the collection. You slope the trench very slightly, just an inch or two over 50 feet towards a single point. At that point, you install a vertical riser, a solid pipe going up to the surface. You cap it. You put a simple hand pump on top. Cost? Under $200 if you do the labor yourself. Time? A weekend with a shovel. This isn't a hypothetical. This is engineering. This works because you aren't pulling water, you're letting it flow to you. The soil acts as the pump. The hydraulic pressure of the water in the hill above you pushes water through the soil, into the gravel, into the pipe, and up your riser. It is passive. It is constant. It recharges every time it rains. You are essentially tapping into a river that flows inside the hill. A standard well requires a massive pump to suck water up against gravity, fighting friction and depth. The shallow interceptor uses gravity to deliver the water to your pump. You only need a tiny pump, sometimes even just a pitcher pump, because the water is already waiting at the surface pressure. This isn't new tech. This is forgotten tech. In ancient Persia, they built Qanats, massive underground tunnels that tapped into the foothills of mountains, gravity feeding water to villages in the desert. They didn't have pumps. They understood slope. In the 1800s, settlers in the American Midwest used sandpoints and shallow-driven wells. They knew that if you went down 20 feet, you hit the water table. But as electricity became cheap and drilling technology advanced, we got greedy. We went deep. We wanted high pressure. We wanted to water lawns in the desert. We traded resilience for convenience. We traded a system that never breaks for a system that requires a grid. So why isn't everyone doing this? Why do we still spend $30,000 on drills? The enemy is complexity. There is no money in simplicity. You cannot patent a trench. You cannot sell a subscription service for gravel. The well drilling industry sells depth. The filtration industry sells fear. If everyone knew that clean water was available 5 feet down, the economic model of rural water would collapse. And there is a psychological barrier. We equate deep with abundant. We equate expensive with quality. It feels unnatural to trust a pipe buried in the mud. We want stainless steel. We want UV lights. We want complex gauges. We are addicted to the illusion of control. But the shift happens when you taste it. When you first pump that water. When you see it is clear, cold, odorless. You realize that the earth takes care of you. This system requires a shift in behavior. You have to stop mining water and start farming it. You have to be aware of the rain. You have to understand your land. You can't just turn a tap and forget where it came from. And that is a feature, not a bug. Connection is the ultimate form of security. The problem was never scarcity. The problem was that we were looking in the wrong place. We thought water was a treasure buried in a vault that we had to break into with a drill. But water is a gift resting on the surface, wrapped in a blanket of soil, waiting to be unwrapped. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be an engineer. You just need to understand where you are standing. The shallow interceptor isn't just a water system. It is proof that the solutions to our biggest problems are usually the ones we've trampled underfoot. True mastery isn't about conquering nature. It's about aligning with it so perfectly that your effort disappears. When you dig this trench, you aren't fighting the earth. You are collaborating with it. And in a world that demands you constantly consume, there is something revolutionary about building something that simply works. Dig deep, but think shallow. I want to know, have you ever noticed water pooling just a few feet down when you were digging? Did you ignore it? Go down to the comments. Tell me where you live and what kind of soil you have. I bet you have a shallow lens waiting for you. Don't just watch this. Go outside, poke the ground, see what's really there. Thanks for being here. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.